Please welcome our host for today's contest, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Arts Commission, Malcolm White.
Hello. On behalf of the Mississippi Arts Commission and our partners at the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation, I welcome you to the 15th Annual Mississippi Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest. This year, more than 300,000 students in more than 2,300 schools participated in Poetry Out Loud, a poetry education program that is offered free of charge to high school students and teachers across our nation. The highlights of the program is the National Recitation Contest, in which 53 contestants, one from each of the 50 states, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the District of Columbia, recite for up to $20,000 in cash money. 34 high schools from across our state, from Meridian to Vicksburg, Tupelo to Gulfport, began the journey toward today's contest when they registered at the beginning of the academic year. In some schools, it began in an English classroom, in some a theater classroom, and in others with an interested teacher or a counselor, and they participated in an in-school Poetry Out Loud contest held before the winter holidays. Nearly 2,000 students and 119 teachers participated in Poetry Out Loud in Mississippi this year. In February, the school champions represented their schools at one of the 3 regional contests held across the state. From each of the regional contests, 3 top-scoring contestants will be here today. I congratulate each and every one of the contestants on their achievement for reaching this level and this stage, and I offer my personal best wishes for your success today. Now, it is my privilege to introduce our MC for the contest. Please join me and welcome Mississippi Public Broadcasting's very own Michelle McAdoo.
Thank you, Malcolm. And thanks also to today's musical guest, award-winning Mississippi blues musician, Wes Lee. Welcome. First, let me tell you how proud Mississippi Public Broadcasting is to share Poetry Out Loud with our statewide television audience. We believe that academic contests should and do stand on the same stage as all other pursuits of excellence, and that the contestants not only deserve our attention, but our respect. Poetry Out Loud seeks to promote the art of poetry in both the classroom and the community. The program provides an entry point for many students to learn to love poetry, and for most, to introduce them to poems that will stay with them for a lifetime. Scoring recitations is one of the most important and most difficult aspects of a Poetry Out Loud contest. Judges are asked to evaluate very different recitations, each displaying an impressive level of excellence. And they must decide how well students represent complex poems that may lend themselves to more than one interpretation. The integrity of Poetry Out Loud rests on the work of the judges at each and every level of the contest. Serving on today's panel of judges are writer, editor, and instructor of English at Jackson State University, C. Lee McInnes. Author, songwriter, singer, Mississippi Arts Commission roster artist, and teaching artist, and Mississippi Humanities Council speaker, Rochelle Putnam. Assistant Professor of English and Director of Writing and Teaching at Millsaps College, Dr. Anita Durnois. actor, director, and artistic director of Jackson's New Stage Theater, Francine Thomas Reynolds. And last but certainly not least, poet, writer, and Mississippi Arts Commission roster artist, Dr. Benjamin Morris. And courtesy of the Mississippi Arts Commission, our accuracy judge is Anna Ergot. And our score tabulators are Shirley Smith and Kristen Brandt. Our prompter today is noted Mississippi author, storyteller, and visual artist, Diane Williams. Poetry Out Loud recitations are scored in 5 categories: physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and overall performance. It is interesting to note that Poetry Out Loud is a contest, not a competition. If it were a competition, the contestants would all be reciting the same poem and the judges would be choosing one recitation over another. In Poetry Out Loud, the judges evaluate each recitation independently according to the 5 scoring categories, using a predefined 6-level scoring system. I know that's a lot, it's kind of confusing. In other words, the judges do not select the finalist, the scores do. There will be 3 rounds in today's contest. Each contestant has prepared 3 poems and will each recite one in round 1 and another in round 2. The 3 top scoring contestants will then each recite a 3rd poem to determine who will represent Mississippi at the National Recitation Contest in Washington, D.C. And now we begin round 1 of the 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest. Our first contestant is Dion Ruiz.
The Ocean by Nathaniel Hawthorne. The ocean has its silent caves, deep, quiet, and alone. Though there be fury on the waves, beneath them there is none. The awful spirits of the deep hold their communion there, and there are those for whom we weep, the young, the bright, the fair, calmly. The wearied seamen rest beneath their own blue sea. The ocean solitudes are blessed, for there is purity. The earth has guilt. The earth has care. Unquiet are its graves, but peaceful sleep is ever there beneath the dark blue waves.
Our next contestant is Angelita Michelli.
Happy Hour by Lee Ann Roverpaw. I always forget the name delphinium, even though it was the flower the hummingbirds loved best. They came in pairs, sleek emerald bright heads, the clockwork machinery of their blurred wings thrumming swift, menacing engines. They slipped their beaks as if they were swizzle sticks deep into the blue throat of delphinium and sucked dry the nectar-chilled hearts like goblets full of sweet, frozen daiquiri. I like to sit on the back porch in the evenings, watching them and eating Spanish peanuts, rolling each nut in between thumb and forefinger to rub away the red, salty skin like brittle tissue paper, until the meat emerged gleaming, yellow like old ivory, smooth as polished bone. In late August, after exclamations of gold flowers, tiny and bitter, the Caragana trees let down their beans to ripen, dry, and rupture. At first, there was a soft drum of popcorn slick with oil, puttering somewhere in between seed, heat, and cloud. Then sharp cracks, like capgun or diminutive fireworks, Caraganopies catapulting skyward like pellet missiles. Sometimes, a meadowlark would lace the night air with its elaborate melody, rippling and sleek as a black satin ribbon. Sometimes, there would be a falling star. And because this happened in Wyoming, and because this was my parents' house, and because I'm never happy with anything at any time, I always wish that I was somewhere, anywhere else, but here.
Our next contestant is Belle Grace Wilkinson.
Enough by Suzanne Buffum. I am wearing dark glasses inside the house to match my dark mood. I have left all the sugar out of the pie. My rage is a kind of domestic rage. I learned it from my mother, who learned it from her mother before her, and so on. Surely, the Greeks had a word for this. Now, surely the Germans do. The more words a person knows to describe her private sufferings, the more distantly she can perceive them. I repeat the names of all the cities I've known and watch an ant drag its crooked shadow home. What does it mean to love the life we've been given? To act well the part that's been cast for us? Wind, light, fire, time. A train whistles through the far hills. One day, I plan to be riding it.
Our next contestant is Emma Tang.
The Legend by Garrett Hongo. In Chicago, it is snowing softly, and a man has just done his wash for the week. He steps into the twilight of early evening, carrying a wrinkled shopping bag full of neatly folded clothes. And, for a moment, enjoys the feel of warm laundry and crinkled paper, flannel-like against his gloveless hands. There's a Rembrandt glow on his face, a triangle of orange in the hollow of his cheek as a last flash of sunset blazes the storefronts and lit windows of the street. He is Asian, Thai or Vietnamese, and very skinny, dressed as one of the poor in rumpled suit pants and a plaid mackinaw, dingy and too large. He negotiates the slick of ice on the sidewalk by his car, opens Fairlane's back door, leans to place the laundry in, and turns for an instant toward the flurry of footsteps and cries of pedestrians as a boy. That's all he was, backs from the corner package store shooting a pistol, firing at once at the dumbfounded man who falls forward, grabbing at his chest. A few sounds escape from his mouth, a babbling no one understands as people surround him, bewildered at his speech. The noises he makes are nothing to them. The boy has gone, lost in the light array of foot traffic dappling the snow with fresh prints. Tonight, I read about Descartes' grand courage to doubt everything except his own miraculous existence. And I feel so distinct from the wounded man lying on the concrete. I am ashamed. Let the night sky cover him as he dies. Let the weaver girl cross the bridge of heaven and take up his cold hands.
Our next contestant is Taylor Mills.
Morning Poem for the Queen of Sunday by Robert Hayden. Lords lost him his mockingbird, his fancy warbler. Satan sweet-talked her, 4 bullets hushed her. Who would have thought she'd end that way? 4 bullets hushed her, and the world a-clang with evil. Who's going to make old, hardened sinner men tremble now, and the righteous rock? Oh, who will sing Jesus down to help with struggling and doing without and being colored all through Blue Monday till way next Sunday? All those angels in their cretonne clouds and finery the true believer saw when she reared back her head and sang. All those angels are surely weeping. Who would have thought she'd end that way? 4 holes in her heart, the gold work's wrecked. But she looks so natural in her big bronze coffin, among the broken hearts and gates ajar. It's as if any moment she'd lift her head from its pillow of chill gardenias and turn this quiet into shouting Sunday and make folks forget what she did on Monday. Oh, Satan sweet-talked her, and 4 bullets hushed her. Lords lost him his diva, his fancy warbler's gone. Who would have thought? Who would have thought she'd end that way?
Our next contestant will be Aiden lease.
Analysis of Baseball by May Svensson. It's about the ball, the bat, and the mitt. Ball hits bat, or it hits mitt. Bat doesn't hit ball, bat meets it. Ball bounces off bat, flies air, or thuds ground dud, or it fits mitt. Bat waits for ball to mate. Ball hates to take bat's bait. Ball flirts, bat's late, don't keep the date. Ball goes in, thwack to mitt, and goes out, thwack, back to mitt. Ball fits mitt, but not all the time. Sometimes ball gets hit, pow, when bat meets it, and sails to a place where mitt has to quit in disgrace. That's about the bases loaded. About 40,000 fans exploded. It's about the ball, the bat, the mitt, the bases, and the fans. It's done on a diamond, and for fun. It's about home, and it's about run.
Our next contestant will be Emery Bridges.
Sea Church by Amy Nizikamatatu. Give me a church made entirely of salt. Let the walls hiss and smoke when I return to shore. I ask for the grace of a new freckle on my cheek, the lift of blue, and my mother's soapy skin to greet me. Hide me in a room with no windows. Never let me see the dolphins leaping into commas for this water prayer, rising like a host of sky lanterns into the inky evening. Let them hang in the sky until they vanish at the edge of the constellations. The heroes and animals too busy and bright to notice.
Our next contestant will be Caitlin McCullum.
The Paradox by Paul Laurence Dunbar. I am the mother of sorrows. I am the ender of grief. I am the bud and the blossom. I am the late falling leaf. I am thy priest and thy poet. I am thy serf and thy king. I cure the tears of the heartsick. When I come near, they shall sing. White are my hands as the snowdrop, swart are my fingers as clay. Dark is my frown as the midnight, fair is my brow as the day. Battle and war are my minions, doing my will as divine. I am the calmer of passions. Peace is a nursling of mine. Speak to me gently, or curse me. Seek me, or fly from my sight. I am thy fool in the morning. Thou art my slave in the night. Down to the grave will I take thee, out from the noise of the strife. Then shalt thou see me and know me. Death then no longer, but life. Then shalt thou sing at my coming, kiss me with passionate breath. Clasp me and smile to have thought me aught, save the foeman of death. Come to me, brother, when weary. Come when thy lonely heart swells. I'll guide thy footsteps and lead thee down where the dream woman dwells.
Next, we will have Morgan Love.
Rondo by Lee Hunt. Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping from the chair she sat in. Time, you thief, who love to get sweets into your list. Put that in. Say I'm weary. Say I'm sad. Say that health and wealth have missed me. Say I'm growing old. But add, Jenny kissed me.
This concludes round 1 of the 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest. We will now proceed directly to round 2, during which we'll hear a second recitation from each contestant. The first recitation in round 2 is by Dion Ruiz.
Love 3 by George Herbert. Love bade me welcome, yet my soul drew back, guilty of dust and sin. But quick-eyed love, observing me grow slack from my first entrance in, drew near to me, sweetly questioning if I lacked anything. A guest, I answered. Worthy to be here, love said, you shall be he. I, the unkind, ungrateful? My dear, I cannot look on thee. Love took my hand and smiling did reply, who made the eyes but I? Truth, Lord, but I have marred them. Let my shame go where it doth deserve. And know you not, says love, who bore the blame? My dear, then I will serve. You must sit down, says love, and taste my meat. So I did sit and eat.
Next is Angelita Michelli.
Oranges by Rasheen Kelly. I'll choose for myself next time who I'll reach out and take as mine. In the way I might stand at a fruit stall, having decided to ignore the apples, the mangoes, and the kiwis, but hold my hands above a pile of oranges as if to warm my skin before a fire. Not only have I chosen oranges, but I'll also choose which orange. I'll test a few for firmness, scrape some rind off with my fingernails so that a citrus scent will linger there all day. I won't be happy with the first one I pick, but we'll try different ones until I know you. How will I know you? You'll feel warm between my palms, and I'll cup you like a handful of holy water. A vision will come to me of your exotic land, the sun you swelled under, the tree you grew from. A drift of white blossoms from the orange tree will settle in my hair, and I'll know. This is how I will choose you. By feeling you, smelling you, by slipping you into my coat. Maybe then I'll climb the hill, look down on the town we live in with sunlight on my face and a miniature sun burning a hole in my pocket. Thirsty, I'll suck the juice from it. From you. When I walk away, I'll leave behind a trail of lamp-bright rind.
Our next contestant is Belle Grace Wilkinson.
Fate by Carolyn Wells. Two shall be born the whole world wide apart, and speak in different tongues, and pay their debts in different kinds of coin, and give no heed each to the other's being, and know not that each might suit the other to a T, if they were but correctly introduced. And these unconsciously shall bend their steps, escaping Spaniards and defying war, unerringly toward the same trysting place, albeit they know it not. Until at last they enter the same door, and suddenly they meet. And ere they've seen each other's face, they fall into each other's arms upon the Broadway cable car. And this is fate.
Our next contestant is Emma Tang.
How to Triumph Like a Girl by Ada Limon. I like the lady horses best, how they make it all look easy. Like running 40 miles per hour is as fun as taking a nap or grass. I like their lady horse swagger after winning. Ears up, girls, ears up. But mainly, let's be honest, I like that they're ladies. As if this big, dangerous animal is also a part of me. That somewhere inside the delicate skin of my body, there pumps an 8-pound female horse heart. Giant with power, heavy with blood. Don't you want to believe it? Don't you want to lift my shirt and see the huge beating genius machine that thinks no? It knows. it's going to come in first.
Our next contestant is Taylor Mills.
It was not death, for I stood up, by Emily Dickinson. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt sirocco's crawl, nor fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet, it tasted like them all. The figures I have seen set orderly for burial reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame and could not breathe without a key. And 'twas like midnight, some, when everything that ticked has stopped, and space stares all around. Or grisly frosts, first autumn morns repeal the beating ground. But most like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar or even a report of land to justify despair.
Our next contestant is Aiden Lease.
A Hymn to God the Father by John Donne. Wilt thou forgive that sin where I begun, which was my sin, though it were done before? Wilt thou forgive that sin through which I run, and do still run, though still I do deplore? When thou hast done, thou hast not done, for I have more. Wilt thou forgive that sin which I have won others to sin, and made my sin their door? Wilt thou forgive that sin which I despised a year or two, but wallowed in a score? When thou hast done, thou hast not done, for I have more. I have a sin of fear, that when I have spun my last thread, I shall perish on the shore. But swear by thyself that at my death thy sun shall shine as he shines now and heretofore. And having done that, thou hast done, I fear no more.
Our next contestant is Emery Bridges.
Brian, age 7, by Mark Doty. Grateful for their tour of the pharmacy, the first grade class has drawn these pictures. each self-portrait taped to the window glass, faces wide to the street, round and available, with parallel lines for hair. I like this one best. Brian, whose attenuated name fills a quarter of the frame, stretched beside impossible legs descending from the ball of his torso, two long arms springing from that same central sphere he breathes here, on his page. It isn't craft that makes this figure come alive. Brian draws just balls and lines and wobbly crayon strokes. Why do some marks seem to thrill with life, possess a portion of the nervous energy in their maker's hand? That big curve of a smile reaches nearly to the rim of his face. He holds a towering ice cream, brown spheres teetering on their cone, a soda fountain gift half the length of him, as if it were a flag of his own country, held high by the unadorned black line of his arm, such naked support for so much delight. Artless boy. He's found a system of beauty. He shows us pleasure and what pleasure resists. The ice cream is delicious. He's frail beside his relentless standard.
Our next contestant is Caitlin McCullum.
The Obligation to be Happy by Linda Paston. It is more onerous than the rights of beauty or housework. Harder than love. But you expect it of me casually, the way you expect the sun to come up. Not in spite of rain or clouds, but because of them. And so I smile, as if my own fidelity to sadness were a hidden vice. That downward tug on my mouth, my old suspicion that health and love are brief irrelevancies, no more than laughter in the warm dark, strangled at dawn. Happiness. I try to hoist it on my narrow shoulders again, a knapsack heavy with gold coins. I stumble around the house, bump into things. Only Midas himself would understand.
Our last contestant in round 2 is Morgan Love.
A Song in the Front Yard by Gwendolyn Brooks. I've stayed in the front yard all my life. I want to peek at the back, where it's rough and untended and hungry weed grows. A girl gets sick of a rose. I want to go to the backyard now, and maybe down the alley to where the charity children play. I want a good time today. They do some wonderful things. They have some wonderful fun. My mother sneers, but I say it's fine. How they don't have to go in at 8:45. My mother, she tells me that Johnny May will grow up to be a bad woman, that George will be taken to jail sooner or late. On account of last winter, he sold our back gate. But I say it's fine. Honest, I do. And I like to be a bad woman, too. And wear the brave stockings of night black lace and strut down the streets with paint on my face.
Welcome back for the final round of the 2020 Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest. The scores from the first and second rounds have been tabulated, and the 3 highest scoring contestants will now each recite a third poem. The scores they earn in this round will be added to their standing scores and will be used to select Mississippi's representative to the Poetry Out Loud National Recitation Contest to be held in Washington, D.C. on April 28th and 29th. The contestants in round 3 in alphabetical order are Emma Tang, Taylor Mills, and Morgan Love. Congratulations. And now, let's begin the third and final round of the 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest.
Sonnet 15, When I Consider Everything That Grows, by William Shakespeare. When I consider everything that grows, holds imperfection but a little moment, that this huge stage presenteth naught but shows, whereon the stars in secret influence comment. When I perceive that men, as plants, increase, cheered and checked even by the self-same sky, vaunt in their youthful sap, at height decrease, and where their brave state out of memory, then the conceit of this inconstant stay sets you, most rich in youth, before my sight, where wasteful time debateth with decay, to change your day of youth to sullied night. And all in war with time for love of you, as he takes from you, I engraft you new.
"1969" by Alex Dimitrov. This summer, everyone left for the moon, even those yet to be born, and the dead who can't vacation here, but met us all there by the veil between worlds. The #1 song in America was "In the Year 2525," because who has ever lived in the present when there's so much of the future to continue without us? How the best lover won't need to forgive you and surely take everything off your hands without having to ask, without knowing your name. No matter the number of times you married or didn't, your favorite midnight movie, the cigarettes you couldn't give up, wanting to kiss other people you shouldn't, and now to forever be kissed by the earth, in the earth, with the earth. When we all briefly left it to look back on each other from above, shocked by how bright even our pain is, running wildly beside us like an underground river.
And whatever language is good for, a sign, a message left up there that reads, "Here, men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind." Then returned to continue the war.
I Am Learning to Abandon the World by Linda Paston. I am learning to abandon the world before it can abandon me. Already I have given up the moon and snow, closing my shades against the claims of white. And the world has taken my father, my friends. I have given up melodic lines of heels, moving to a flat, tuneless landscape. And every night I give my body up, limb by limb, working upwards across bone towards the heart. But morning comes with small reprieves of coffee and bird song. A tree outside the window, which was simply shadow moments ago, takes back its branches twig by leafy twig. And as I take my body back, the sun lays its warm muzzle on my lap, as if to make amends.
And now, the announcement we've all been waiting to hear. The naming of our third and second place finalist, and of our 2020 state champion. Presenting this year's award is Malcolm White, Executive Director of the Mississippi Arts Commission. The 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud third place finalist is Emma Tang. The 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud second place finalist and recipient of a $100 award and a $200 stipend for their school library is Taylor Mills. Before we move on, cameraman, did you just get these reactions over here? Crazy reactions, wonderful, so authentic. And the 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud state champion and recipient of a $200 award and an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C., and a $500 stipend for their school library is Morgan Love.
Thank you, Michelle, and thanks again to Wes Lee, our musical guest for the evening. Very much appreciated. Congratulations, and thanks to everyone who contributed to the success of Poetry Out Loud. The teachers, the students, the coaches, the parents, the clinicians, the volunteers, and the judges, and certainly to the schools and organizations that have partnered with us at the Mississippi Arts Commission to bring this program to students across our state. And they include the Yakmatawtha Arts Council in Oxford, the Margaret Walker Alexander National Research Center at Jackson State University, the Lauren Rogers Museum of Art in Laurel, Parkway Heights Methodist Church in Hattiesburg, the Oxford University Methodist Church in Oxford, and of course, our partners, Mississippi Public Broadcasting. Registration for the 2021 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud program opens on Monday, May the 4th. Any and all schools that teach students in grades 9 through 12 are encouraged to visit the Mississippi Arts Commission's website at www.arts.ms.gov for more information. This concludes the 2020 Mississippi Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest. We hope to see you next year.